Did you have sexual intercourse with anybody other than Israel Sanchez?
No, sir.
Showing a probability of paternity of 0%.
If y'all can just see his other child and Lazarus, they look identical.
We are here on the Attorney General's petition to establish the parent-child relationship. Present in the virtual courtroom is Lynette Vasquez. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
The other parties to the case, Israel Sanchez, shows to have been served August 21st, 2023, has not filed an answer or made an appearance. And also Julian Vasquez, served May 22nd, 2023, has not filed an answer or made an appearance.
All right, call Lynette Vasquez.
You can lower your hand. You may proceed.
Okay, Ms. Vasquez, are you the mother of Lazarus, the child who is the subject of this suit?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever been married?
Yes, sir.
When did you get married?
August 4th, 2018.
Okay. And who did you get married to?
Julian Vasquez.
Are you still married to Julian Vasquez?
Yes, sir.
And how old is, rather than asking how old he is, what is Lazarus's date of birth?
February 5th, 2023.
Okay, so Lazarus was born while you were married to Julian Vasquez, and you're still married to Mr. Vasquez. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Did you get genetic testing for Lazarus and Mr. Julian Vasquez to determine whether he was the father of Lazarus?
Correct.
And have you seen the results of that test?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd ask the court to take judicial notice of the genetic testing document that is on file with the court with Lynette Vasquez, Lazarus Sanchez, and Julian Sanchez, Julian Vasquez, showing a probability of paternity of 0%.
I will take judicial notice of that DNA testing.
Who is the father of Lazarus?
Israel Sanchez.
So you said Lazarus was born on February 5th of 2023. So counting back 5 months, that would put his conception at around May of 2022. Is that accurate?
Accurate. Yes, sir.
Around that time, around May of 22, thinking about 30 days before, 30 days after, did you have sexual intercourse with anybody other than Israel Sanchez?
No, sir.
Okay, so you are certain that Israel Sanchez is the father of Lazarus?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Lazarus is living with you, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Has Mr. Sanchez ever visited with Lazarus?
No, sir. And he was premature, and he was never in the hospital while Lazarus was in the NICU.
Okay, so has he ever even seen Lazarus?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you want him to have a relationship with Lazarus going forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We've discussed what a standard possession order is like. Do you feel that that would be appropriate in your circumstances?
No, I would like for him to have the second and fourth weekend, since he has not shown me any proof or any result showing that he wants to be a part of Lazarus' life.
Okay. And so we discussed what a standard possession order is like. It's usually the first, third, and fifth, but you would ask that it be the second and fourth weekends of each month instead. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And why do you feel that it's important for it to be the second and fourth?
Because Lazarus had a COVID before. He was not around, because I did tell Israel Sanchez that he did have COVID, that he was a premature baby. And I told him all this stuff, and he did not contact me back. Like, I guess he didn't really care to know about Lazarus' life and what was going on. So he has not shown me any effort of giving him more, the first, third, and fifth weekend.
Okay.
With the visitation.
Okay. And based on what you just described, the fact that he's been so uninvolved in Lazarus's life, are you asking to be the sole managing conservator for Lazarus and asking that Mr. Sanchez be a possessory conservator?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But to be clear, you do want him to have a relationship with Lazarus going forward. You want him to have visitation.
Correct.
Okay. And I noticed that there was a family violence indicator on your case that is related to some individual other than Israel Sanchez. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do you feel that you still need a non-disclosure order keeping your address and phone number and other information out of the order?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And who is that other individual that is the reason for the family violence indicator?
That's Joshua Burke.
Okay. And what's your relation to Joshua Burke?
Like, what do you mean? Like, he's
Yes.
the father to my kids.
Yeah, he's the father of your other children?
Yes, my first 3 kids.
Okay. So you have 3 children with that person.
Joshua, yes.
Joshua. Okay. All right. And has Joshua threatened you in the past or committed violence against you in the past?
No, sir.
Okay. Why do you feel that you need to keep your address and phone number and information withheld from him?
From Joshua?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know, to be honest. I know where he lives because, I had to pick up my kids from there a few times. But I guess just since then, I really haven't had any reason to keep my address, or anything else private.
Does he know where you live?
No, he doesn't come my way. Like, I have to go pick up my kid. I have to drop off my kids and then pick them up where Joshua lives.
Okay.
He has no driver license, so he can't drive. He doesn't know where I live.
All right. Understood. And you understand that we're here to determine an amount of child support for Mr. Sanchez to pay, correct?
Yeah.
Did you want to also request retroactive support? And that would be support going into the past, back to when Lazarus was born.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Has Mr. Sanchez given you any help since Lazarus was born, either in the form of money or supplies or anything like that?
Yes, sir. He has given me $200 since Lazarus was born.
Okay. A total of 200, and that's all?
Correct.
Okay. What kind of health insurance does Lazarus have?
He has Medicaid.
Okay. And I noticed that Lazarus's last name right now is Sanchez. Did you want to leave it as Sanchez or did you want it to be something else?
I would want it as my middle name, and my middle name is Flores. So I would want it just to have Flores, not Sanchez in it.
Okay, so Flores is what you want it to be.
Correct.
Okay. Would you be all right with the name being hyphenated?
No.
Okay. All right, Your Honor, I'll pass the witness.
Okay, Ms. Vasquez, how did the child end up with Mr. Sanchez's last name?
When he was conceived, because he does have another child. So I already met his other child, and looking at Israel, he seemed to be like a good father. He showed me that he was a good father to his other child. So I was thinking that, when Lazarus was born, he would be there, he would support Lazarus, even if it's not financially, he would just show Lazarus the support that he needs while growing up. So I took encouragement and thoughtful that I'm gonna give Lazarus Israel's last name because I thought Israel was gonna be, a part of Lazarus' life since, or when I was in labor, from the beginning. I thought he was gonna be there. Since then, he hasn't shown me nothing. I called him, I texted him, and there's no effort back of him showing me that he wants to be a part of Lazarus Sanchez's life, even though I want Israel to be a part of Lazarus' life. Like, I'm not gonna stop Israel from not being there, or one day if he's like, well, I want to be a part of Lazarus' life, I'm gonna give it to him, not gonna deny him just because he wasn't there through my pregnancy, through my labor, while he was in the NICU when Lazarus had COVID. I'm not gonna deny him for that.
When did he pay you the $200?
Oh, it's on my Cash App.
Recently?
Yeah, it was last year. I want to say I have proof. Maybe in September, October.
And has he contacted you to visit with the child at all?
No.
How did he come to pay you the $200?
At that time, his phone was working. We have text messages, telling that, hey, can you help me with Lazarus, financially stuff that he needs, and he told me okay. And since then, he's not, shown me any effort after that when he paid that $200.
Any other testimony that you would like to share?
No, ma'am.
Okay, next witness.
I call Kimberly Price.
Okay, Ms. Price.
Ms. Price, what do you do for a living?
I'm a child support officer for the Attorney General, a child support officer for the Attorney General's office.
And as a child support officer, do you perform investigations into the income and resources of certain individuals?
Yes, sir.
Did you perform an investigation into the resources of Israel Sanchez?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what were you able to discover?
That Mr. Sanchez has been working for Cargill Meat Solutions for about 2 years and has pretty good income.
Okay, what were the income for the past 4 quarters that you were able to discover?
Third quarter of 2023, his income was $12,690.08. Second quarter of 2023, $13,642.88. First quarter of 2023, $13,613.37. And fourth quarter of 2022, $14,520.19.
Okay, so I don't know if you've done the math, but if you average that out, it looks like about 45, 38, and 88 cents on average for the past 12 months. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Vasquez, do you have any questions of Ms. Price?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Mr.
State rests, Your Honor.
The state is rested. That means they have no further evidence or testimony to provide. Ms. Vasquez, do you also rest?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Close, Mr. Bunashek.
State closes.
Do you have any requests that you're making, Ms. Vasquez, of based on, to kind of instruct me about how you would like me to rule?
The only thing I was just asking about his last name, just to have his or my my last name, Flores, but if it couldn't be changed like that, we'll just leave it as Sanchez, because my other kids have hyphenated last names, and that's just too long of a last name. So if you could, if you can just take my last name and have for Lazarus to have it, I would be blessed to have him have my last name.
Ms. Price, I hate to open it back up, but do you happen to have any information to know if Mr. Sanchez has any other children?
He has one other child that I can tell of.
Okay. Ms. Vasquez, are you aware of any other children other than the one child that Mr. Sanchez has?
No, ma'am. And I know it's not important, but if y'all can just see his other child and Lazarus, they look identical. So that's how I know Israel's the father.
I do find that although Ms. Vasquez and Mr. Vasquez were married at the time that the child was born, paternity testing does exclude Julian Vasquez as the father of the child and will be removed as the presumption has been rebutted and he is not the father of the child. I will find that Israel Sanchez is the father of the child and has not submitted to genetic testing. I will order that Ms. Vasquez be the sole managing conservator of the child with the exclusive right to determine the primary residence of the child, and Mr. Sanchez will be a possessory conservator. Because the child is under the age of 3 years old, I will order a phased-in visitation schedule in which Mr. Sanchez will be allowed initially supervised visits to be supervised by Ms. Vasquez or someone she determines from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturdays following, and I'm going to use the 1st, 3rd, and 5th, using the 1st, 3rd, and 5th Friday of the month. That is every other weekend. And those will continue, the supervised visits will continue for 10 periods of possession. After those 10 periods of possession have been completed in full, then Mr. Sanchez will be allowed to see the child 2 to 4 p.m. unsupervised for 10 periods of possession. The 10 periods of possession will carry throughout the phased-in modified visitation schedule. It will grow in time and eventually grow into or go into a standard possession order after all of the visits have been completed. If one visit is skipped, then Mr. Sanchez will be required to start that phase of the possession over again before moving on to the next phase of the modified possession order. I will grant a non-disclosure for Ms. Vasquez's information not to be included in the court order. I will order retroactive child support less the $200 payment that Mr. Sanchez paid. The judgment will be entered against Mr. Sanchez in the amount of $5,824. I will order a $50 payout towards that judgment beginning February 1st, 2024. I will order $502 current child support per month to begin February 1st, 2024. I will grant the last name change to Flores. And Ms. Vasquez will be ordered to maintain government health insurance for the child. And I will order a cash medical support for Mr. Sanchez to pay in the amount of $50 per month beginning February 1st, 2024. Court costs will be assessed against Mr. Sanchez to be paid 1 year from today's date. Any party that wants a new hearing on this matter can request that by filing a trial de novo with the Crosby County District Clerk's Office within the next 3 days. I appreciate you being here today. That concludes today's hearing, and you're free to disconnect from the Zoom meeting.